our work here. So, for those of you who are new, or as we continue to work together on our framework for leadership at Meteor Education, which is servant leadership, this is our acronym. Serves self-leadership, working on ourselves, people development, execute and advocate, reinvent and innovate, value relationships and results, embody our core values and Meteor Manifesto, and seek to understand. So that's our acronym as we work for the bigger work of serving the folks that we lead. So here are outcomes for today. We're going to do some quick leadership updates, and then we will jump into psychological safety and employee experiences, look at some case studies, elements of a psychologically safe team, and then finish out with what does a psychologically safe, what is the language around psychological safety? So real quick, on October 20th, Michelle Kinder will be back to share at our Charge Up call. So I will be putting that on your calendars next week. So just wanted to make sure you all knew that she was going to be our special guest in October. And then also, thank you for your participation and interest, some of you, in the book study. This is completely optional. And Josh is going to put in an additional link to give us a little bit more information about if you're interested in participating in one of these book studies. It's the goal is to make it not a heavy lift, but an opportunity to learn and connect with other leaders. So if you are interested in that, Josh is going to put the link in the chat, and then also it'll be in the Meteor Minute on Monday. So be looking for that. Okay, so when we did our needs assessment, we had communication and conflict and teamwork and coaching from a leadership standpoint. So we're on the teamwork part of our Charge Up call content. So we are diving into the idea of psychological safety. And last time we talked about, that psychological safety is defined as a shared belief that the team is safe for interpersonal risk taking. We saw a couple of videos from Amy Edmondson. This was a really interesting graph that she shared, and I just wanted to pull it back up. On the side here, you can see psychological safety. In the bottom, it's accountability. And when you don't have any psychological safety and there's no accountability, it's in the apathy zone. If there's only psychological safety and there's no accountability, then that's in the comfort zone. If there's psychological safety and accountability, that's in the learning zone. And if there's no psychological safety, but only accountability, then that's in the anxiety zone. So, really focusing on trying to stay in that green zone where people can show up, in an interpersonal way and be themselves, but then we're getting the work done. All right. All right. So these were the leadership strategies we talked about last time, is to reframing problems as learning problems. As leaders, acknowledging that we may not know everything, being able to admit our mistakes, ask what we're missing, and then also modeling curiosity to help work through what it is that get people's voices in the room and help understand people's points of view and perspective. So on the last, as we signed off last time, we had a Slido, and this was what people put in the Slido as things that they were going to try and practice this next time. So you may or may not have been on the call. You may or may not have put some things in the wrap up Slido, but here are some of the things that I wanted to share with you that we had said we were going to try, and then we're going to go back into our breakout sessions and just talk about some of the things that we noticed, some of the things that we did try, if we did, or some of the things that we would like to try. So, to increase psychological safety as leaders. Validating other people's perspectives was one of the things that you all put down. Creating a safe space for your teams, whether you're leading the team or you're on a team or you're training, whatever that looks like. Asking lots of questions and being curious. This had a lot of people put this down as something that they were going to try. Being honest and admitting when we don't know something, encouraging people to participate in the team meetings, listening, recreating those problems is actually a learning problem that we can all work on together. And then I thought it was interesting too, some folks said, speaking up more, that they were going to try to speak up more in their team meetings. So I'm going to push us all back into the breakout rooms. And so just think about anything that you thought about from the last time we talked about psychological safety, or anything that you already know about psychological safety and great teamwork. What have you tried? What have you noticed? What have you thought about? So those are the things that we're going to talk about in the breakout room next. So leaders eat last. And if those of you who've been with Meteor for a while, that was a book that made it into the leadership development world back a couple of years ago. And rereading that book just recently in prep for the book studies, it's a big history lesson of why we're where we are, and some of the ways that organizations have changed early on into that just command control, and what the effects of that sort of a leadership has on people. And so his book really talks a whole lot about safety and empathy and communication and all of those sorts of things. And so I found this YouTube video, and it's in the middle of a conversation sort of interview that he's having with a facilitator. And so I wanted to share it with you. And then we've got a couple of other case study examples, and then we'll hop back into our breakouts room. So, but take some notes on this, on some of the key things that kind of intrigue you. So here we go.
Yeah, when we talk about safe, we're talking about psychologically safe.
Right.
Yeah. And you can be psychologically safe and still trip over a cord.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's a great story. I had a business trip to Las Vegas a bunch of years ago, and the client was very generous and put me up at the Four Seasons, which is a lovely hotel. And the reason it's lovely is not because of the fancy beds. Any hotel can buy a fancy bed. It's because of the people who work there. That when you roam the halls and somebody says hello, you get the distinct feeling that they wanted to say hello, not that they were told to say hello. We're highly attuned social animals. We can tell the difference. I mean, your idea of being the Nordstroms is like people can tell the difference whether they're forced to give good service or they want to give good service. Anyway, they happened to have a coffee bar at the Four Seasons in Las Vegas, and one afternoon I went and bought myself a cup of coffee. And the barista working that day was a kid named Noah. Noah was funny and engaging and charming, and I stood there for far too long just to buy a cup of coffee. And so, as is my nature, I asked Noah, "Do you like your job?" And without skipping a beat, Noah said, "I love my job." Now, in my line of work, that's significant, because like is rational, right? I like the people, I like the challenge, I get paid well, I like my job. Love is emotional, it's a higher order connection. Like, do you love your wife? I like her a lot, right? It's different.
Right.
It's not the same, right? So Noah said, "I love my job." So immediately my ears perk up. This kid has an emotional connection to his job. So I followed up and I said, "Can you tell me specifically what the Four Seasons is doing that you would say to me, you love your job?" And without skipping a beat, Noah said, throughout the day, managers will walk past me and ask me if there's anything that I need to do my job better, anything they can do for me. Not just my manager, any manager. And then he said, "I also work at Caesar's Palace. And there, the managers walk around and just catch us when we're doing things wrong. There, they're just trying to drive performance. He says, there, I just keep my head below the radar. I just want to get through the day and collect my paycheck." And then he said something magical. He said, only at the Four Seasons do I feel I can be myself. So think about that for a second. This is the exact same human being, right, in two different jobs, and yet our experience of him will be profoundly different, not because of him, but because of the leadership environment in which he works. In one experience, it'll be amazing. In one, it'll be terrible, right?
That's it.
And I think so often, I hear this all the time, leaders ask, how do I get the most out of my people? Well, people aren't a towel. You don't wring them out, right? How do I get the most out of them? It's a flawed question when it comes to leadership. The question is how do I create an environment in which my people can work at their natural best? And the Four Seasons has figured that out, right? It's by giving him agency. It's by giving him control to do the job that he wants to do the way he wants to do it, and checking in to make sure that leadership isn't there to do his job for him or to overly control, but to offer guidelines, but also offer support. And the same goes in any profession. You can take a cop in one agency who will be high-performing, a valuable member of the team, a valuable member of the community because of the culture. You can change the agency they work for, and they can be a terrible member of the team because of the leadership environment in which they work.
Yeah, when we talk about safe.
All right. So there's some key things within that video as far as, the behavior of leaders, whether you are an influential leader or you're leading a peer team or you're doing some training or you have, direct reports. There's a lot of to unpack in that video regarding psychological safety. So again, I'm going to let you guys do that in your breakout rooms. Simon Sinek says, people will trust their leaders when their leaders do the right things that help them feel psychologically safe. And he also says this, and I think this is something that, as we work with people every day, is to be the leader, that we hope we would have. So just some things from Simon. And then I also wanted to share a Google study. And a couple years ago, they went out looking for, how to build the absolute perfect team. And it was, some of you may have heard about this study, and we'll put a link to it at the end of the video today, or the recording today. And so you can check it out to get a little bit more information. But it was called Project Aristotle. And again, they were trying to figure out, okay, what is it that makes the best team? Because Google, they have to have very swift moving, smart decisions in work. And so they were trying to find things like, well, if we put all the introverts together, maybe that, would make the best team. If we put the smartest people together, maybe that's going to be the best team. Oh, if we put all the people that hang out together, after work, that's going to be the most productive team. And so they went on this those were theories. And so they went on their research quest in about 180 teams they studied. And what was interesting is they found out that no matter how research arranged the data, it was almost impossible to find patterns on like the composition of the perfect team. What they did find was that as long as everyone got a chance to talk, the team did well. And the collective intelligence would decline if only only one person or a small group were able to contribute. And so the paradox is that, Google's intense data collection, they crunch numbers, they're collecting all kinds of data, found that the best team members listen to one another. And this is really important. They show sensitivity to the feelings and needs of one another. So what was very interesting is that, and again, I think this was back in 2012 that they did this study, that they found that, there's a lot of things that make a team great, but the differentiator was psychological safety. So, as we look at psychological safety and we look at Meteor and, our four principles. So we have build trust, deepen engagement, expand access, and minimize friction. This is an internal goal as well as our customer experience external goal. And, it's real interesting, a quick ChatGPT search and then also lining it up with our values this is what you can find when you overlay psychological safety, even in our own 4 principles. So when we build trust with one another, we're able to ask for help, admit mistakes, welcome contributions. Everybody has a voice, and people go the extra mile for one another. When we deepen engagement, we increase discussions, we increase decision-making, collaboration, sharing, curiosity, and as a result, we're more innovative. When we expand access to one another as internal teams, we increase belonging, inclusivity, pulling in different viewpoints, and learning and knowledge increases. And then finally, when we minimize friction with one another and within our teams, we are able to address conflict constructively. We're able to express concerns to one another, identify and solve problems together, and as a result, we're in one boat. So, when we can't do these things, this is what happens. Employee well-being suffers, increased stress, burnout, and turnover occur, and overall performance of the organization decreases. So, in your breakouts, you have experiences and you have stories and you have different ideas. So discuss either the upsides of building a team that is psychologically safe, or the downsides, or any of the ahas from the Google study or Simon Sinek's presentation. So I'm going to put you back into your breakout rooms so that you can have a discussion. Here we go. Okay, everybody's back. All right, so in our last few minutes together, let's talk about a few leadership tools and strategies. So grab a pen and pencil and a piece of paper, or some sort of device to record some numbers. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose a team that you're on, whether it's a team that you supervise, or a team of peers, or a work team, just any team. Just think of any team that you want to do a little survey with psychological safety with. And so 1 through 7, and you're going to rate. We'll just use our meteor language here. 4 will be stellar, 3 will be good, 2 will be okay, and 1 is bad. So we're going to rate this team that you have chosen, and this is anonymous. We will not be sharing this with anyone. This is just for your information and your knowledge and your working knowledge as you move forward. So on a scale of 1 to 4, if you make a mistake on this team, it is not held against you. So write that down real quick. If members of this team can bring up problems and tough issues. So on a scale of 1 to 4 there. And this is the actual survey Amy Edmondson has on her website. People on this team accept others for being different, 1 to 4. It's safe to take a risk on this team, 1 to 4. It isn't difficult to ask other team members for help. No one on this team would deliberately act in a way that undermines my efforts, 1 to 4. And then working with members of this team, my unique skills and talents are valued and utilized. Now, you can do whatever you'd like with this information, but this gives you a visual about, as you're working with other people and you're as leaders and you yourself, this is a good assessment to figure out, if you have a psychologically safe team. So you can add these up. Obviously, 28 is going to be, a stellar team. But as we look at, where we can improve, one of the biggest things is to change our language. So and that's really easy whenever we change our language in our team meetings. So I'm going to give you and write these down because, everybody commit to at least some sort of language whenever we're moving on to next week. But what does psychologically safe language look like or sound like from a leader? So here are some strategies. This is totally new territory for me, so I'll need everyone's input. Lucy, you look concerned. What's on your mind? Adrian, what are you hearing in the warehouse, on the phones, on the road? Need your perspective. What assumptions are we making, and what am I missing as a leader or a trainer or a group leader? And then what are you up against? What can I help you? What do you need help with, and what's in your way? And so then on the other side of this is the team member language and what that sounds like in a psychologically safe team. So this is, let me check that for you. It doesn't sound right. It'll only take a minute. This is when we're helping one another. Something's been troubling me. Do you have 10 minutes to discuss it? Having that open conversation. We need another pair of eyes on this. Best to spend a minute, an hour a day, a week on this now so that we can make sure that we've got it right. And then we have some new information that we would like to share. So those are just some ideas about how psychologically safe language sounds, because in teamwork, silence isn't golden. It's actually deadly. That's not what we want to do with our team. So take a second, and if you could put into our Slido. This is anonymous too, so just some language that you're going to try, whether you are a team member or leading a team this next week, and you're going to practice. So if you could put that in there. Oh, here we go. I statements. I want this to be an open discussion, encouragement. Everyone's voice will be heard. What am I missing? Help me see any gaps or options we haven't considered. Love that. What can I do to help? You look concerned. What's on your mind? Let's connect. What are your thoughts? What assumptions are we making here? How can I help? Showing integrity, asking for opinions, ideas. That's not a stupid idea, Jordan. Tell me more. What can I help? And it's not Jordan Wolf. I'll just have to say that. Pirate jokes. This is new territory for me. What am I missing? How can I help with that? It's about everyone on the team. Pro-social language. How can I help? Tell me more about how I can help. I love that. Very good. All right, so that's the challenge this week, is to either, how I can bring resources, is to use the language yourself. And if you're not hearing it on teams, whether again, you're on a peer team or you're leading a team, ask the questions, get curious, make sure that, we're saying the things that lean into our 4 principles at Meteor, and also, create these spaces so that we can have some really good conversations. These are fantastic. Thank you. All right. So today we talked about employee experiences and how important that is. And if you notice that, when our employee experiences are good and healthy, our customer experiences are good and healthy. We've talked about the elements of a psychologically safe team, and then the sounds of psychological safety. So Josh is going to put in the chat the link to this PowerPoint. It's already up on SharePoint if you want to go back and check anything out. He's also going to put a link to the Google article. He put that in earlier, but if you want to read, it's pretty lengthy, but if you want to read about Project Aristotle, you can do that. If you'd like to stay on and chat, we're happy to do that as well. So if you need anything, let us know, and we will see you soon at MeteorCon. Thanks, everybody.